Hello students, welcome to the 18th online lecture for the subject of sociology. We will continue with the 5th chapter of our textbook, that is Social Movements in India. Students, please note that Unit 5.3, that is Workers' Movement in India, has been deleted from the syllabus for the academic year 2021. The topic that we will study in today's lecture is Farmers' Movement in India. India is predominantly an agricultural country. A majority of the Indian population follow agriculture related occupations. A range of groups are associated with farming in India, the most predominant of which may be said to be the farmers. Farmers are a geographically scattered category. However, instances of the consolidation of their power as a response to unrest and suppression are documented in Indian history. The farmers' struggle in India is documented with reference to the following important phases. Number 1, early agitations of 1857 to 1921. Number 2, emergence of Kisan Sabhas 1922 to 1946. Number 3, post-independence period. Let's go in detail. Number 1, early agitations 1857 to 1921. Kathleen Gough has described the British period highlighting the changes that impacted the rural pockets of India. Firstly, the early part of the British rule was marked by an exploitative revenue system. The farmers and peasants had to rely on moneylenders to pay lagan taxes to the British authorities. During this phase, the zamindari system became prevalent, through which landlords could snatch away land from poor farmers when the farmers were not able to pay taxes. Many small cultivators lost their right over their hereditary land and resources. The problem was further compounded by famines and natural calamities during this period. Indebtedness increased and exploitation multiplied. This led to massive discontent among farmers. Several revolts took place during this period. Several sociologists like A.R. Desai, D.N. Dhanagre have documented the series of struggles by peasants and farmers against the British government. To name a few, the Deccan riots against moneylenders, the upsurge by Bengal tenants against zamindari, the Punjab Kisan struggles against moneylenders, etc. During 1917-18, two peasant struggles led by National Congress are important, that is the Champaran struggle in Bihar against indigo planters and the Satyagraha movement of the peasants in Kaira against collection of land revenue in a situation of crop failure. The Congress formed peasant committees to take note of the unrest and demands of peasants' grievances. Number 2, emergence of Kisan Sabhas 1922 to 1946. The initiative by Congress party to support the interest of landlords and zamindars triggered a backlash. The Congress supporting the capitalists did not go down well with a section of struggling farmers. In 1926-27, many Kisan Sabhas were organized in Bengal, Punjab and Uttar Pradesh with revolutionary plans in mind. The Kisan Sabha movement started in Bihar under the leadership of Swami Sajanand Saraswati with the purpose of raising voices against the zamindari system. The representatives of the Kisan Sabhas from Bihar and Uttar Pradesh presented a memorandum in all-party conference covering the major demands. Two struggles of peasantry of Bardoli district, that is Gujarat, broke out in succession, the first in 1928-29 and the second in 1930-31. The movement gathered momentum in the 1930s. In 1935, the first Kisan Congress was held, which was successful in putting forth the unrest and agony of farmers. This resulted in the formation of the All India Kisan Sabha at the Lucknow session of the Indian National Congress in April 1936. The struggle spread to the other parts of India as well. In Punjab, the farmers' movement erupted under the leadership of Raja Mahendra Pratap. The Ghadar party played a very important role in mobilizing farmers and peasants of Punjab together. In Gujarat, Mahatma Gandhi led the struggle of poor farmers against the British government in Kheda. In the southern belt, example in Andhra Pradesh, the struggle erupted against the forest law. This phase is also characterized by worsening of peasant position, consequently culminating into the series of revolts and rebellious actions. Number 3, post-independence period. The emergence of farmers' movement in the post-independent era can be located somewhere in the 1970s. Understandably, the unrest was felt in the states that were agriculturally, commercially developed state in their economic orientation, example Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, Gujarat, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. New ideological perspectives influenced the course of the movement in the post-independence era. In the 1960s and 70s, the movement became more organized. Charan Singh became a very important name in the farmers' struggle. He opposed heavy mechanization and industrialization and championed low capital investment in agriculture. He formed the Bharatiya Kranti Dal and the Bharatiya Lok Dal in 1974. By the 1970s, farmers started forming their groups without the backing of any political organization. In 1973, a convention of farmers was held in New Delhi. It was followed by yet another convention in 1978. It presented a 20-point charter of demands to the government. Demands like representation of farmers on decision-making bodies, bridging the imbalance between agriculture and industry, etc. were included. During this time, Tamil Nadu and Punjab witnessed emergence of strong farmers' organizations. With the processes of industrialization and globalization, conditions have changed rapidly for farmers. With seasonal fluctuations, apathy of the government and negligence by masses, farmers continue to suffer in India. Farmers' suicide has become a common affair. In March 2018, thousands of farmers from different parts of Maharashtra got together to march to Azad Maidan, Mumbai, to convey to the government their grievances and frustrations. For the first time ever, the term farmers' strike was used by media personnel when farmers ignored the market in disgust, throwing agricultural produce on roads. A radically new chapter was added to the farmers' movement in India. Let's move on to study the last topic of this chapter, that is environmental movements in India. Environmentalism is a broad philosophy. It is centered around a genuine concern for the conservation and improvement of the habitat around us, more specifically the environment and civilization. Several direct and indirect threats to the well-being of human life are perceived as an inevitable consequences of modernization and industrialization. The uneven demographic, social and cultural inconsistencies in lifestyle are posing serious problems to ecological balance. Let's see the definition of environmental movement. Gargill and Guha have defined environmental movement as an organized social activity consciously directed towards promoting sustainable use of natural resource, halting environmental degradation, or bringing about environmental restoration. The terms green movement, conservation movement are also used alternatively to refer to the environmental movement. The environmental movement can be studied through following points. Number 1, emergence of environmental movement in India. Number 2, casual issues. Number 3, significant environmental movements in India. In this point, we will study about A. Chipko movement, B. Narmada Bachao Andolan. Let's go in detail. Number 1, emergence of environmental movement in India. Modern environmentalism began in the 1960s. Increased awareness and mass consciousness about environmental degradation led to the organization of many activities, programs, and publications. President Richard Nixon signed the US Environmental Policy Act in the year 1970. Since then, 22nd April is celebrated as Earth Day all over the world. In 1972, the United Nations Conference on Human Environment held at Stockholm triggered the interest of many environmentalists. The Green Movement in Germany and North America in the early 1980s played a significant role in spreading awareness about the importance of protecting, preserving, and harnessing the earth. Consequently, the movement spread to the other parts of the globe as well. Indian society, like most developing countries, is characterized by an almost insensitive and unrestricted exploitation of resources. The environmental movement in India can be said to be unique in its orientation and objectives than other social movements for reasons which are: number 1, the movement aims at collective goodness of mankind as against most of the other movements where the target group is specific and defined. Number 2, the scope of the movement is wide and inclusive in the sense it has incorporated within its fold categories that are marginalized for different reasons, like tribal, farmers, and women. Number 3, the movement has utilized non-violent yet assertive means to present its agenda of preserving the environment. Number 4, the movement has constantly compelled authorities to factor in the collective goodness of ecology while making policies and implementing laws. Number 2, casual issues. Environmental movements have emerged as a reaction to several threats to ecological balance. The causes are interconnected and inevitable. Rapid environmental degradation due to industrialization, urbanization, and excessive use of technology is a prime cause of concern. Rapid population growth has led to indiscriminate use of natural resources. Major issues pertaining to land, water, and biodiversity are adversely affecting the ecological balance of society. Problems like deforestation, air pollution, marine and coastal problems, soil pollution have become common manifestations of ecological imbalance. Scholars insist that environmental movement in India is the product of the conflict between different ideological views. The theme of the interface between human and nature is central to the movement. Gandhiji's idea of Gram Swarajya is based on rationalism and self sufficiency rooted in the indigenous soil with the aim of harnessing and sustaining our own sources, as against the model of radical Marxism with a heavy reliance on modern science and technology and viewing environmental degradation as rooted in the inequalities in society. Thus, the causes of environmental movement are more than merely ecological, these are more economic and social. Number 3, significant environmental movements in India. The environmental movement does not have a monolithic profile. It has a broad scope. It encompasses issues related to ecology, health, human rights, tribal rights, ecofeminism, etc. To appreciate the broad spectrum of the movement, it is important to note that the movement is more like a series of independent but constituent revolts, riots, and rebellion. Harsh Sethi has presented 5 prominent categories of struggles associated with environmentalism, that is, number 1, forest and forest resources, number 2, land use, number 3, water, number 4, anti dam, and number 5, against different types of pollution and marine resources. Some significant environmental movements that we will study are: A. Chipko movement. It is a unique movement which was started by Amrita Devi. From its very inception and throughout the course, it is marked by the Gandhian principle of non-violence and is known for the active participation of women in it. Chipko stands for Hug the Tree. The movement was started in March 1973 in Chamoli district in the Himalayan region under the leadership of Sundar Lal Bahuguna. Most of the Chamoli district is covered by forest. The livelihood of inhabitants residing there is closely linked to the forest. The subsistence economy was primarily based on agriculture and forest produce. With the predominance of agrarian, food gathering, and pastoral economy, there was heavy reliance on forest produce. However, demographic and economic factors led to indiscriminate use of forest and led to deforestation. Processes of industrialization and development led to the improvement in the means of transport and communication. People involved in the developmental projects challenged the established claim of local people on forest. Loss of means of livelihood affected and angered people, leading to the emergence of the movement. In April 1973, when the contractors along with the workers reached Mandal village to cut trees and to clear jungles, spaces allotted to them by the state government, the inhabitants hugged the trees to resist and to mark their protest. The action happened at a mass level, as a result of which the authorities had to retreat. The women of the village also participated in the protest. This incident boosted the morale of several other groups facing similar problems to get together and to protest against deforestation. B. Narmada Bachao Andolan. Jawaharlal Nehru referred to the dams as temples of modern India. In the post-independence period, several large-scale dam projects were sanctioned. Though the purpose of building dams can never be contested, the inevitable impact of building dams in most cases is displacement. Displacement leads to loss of livelihood for tribal and local people. Narmada is the largest west-flowing river supporting the habitat, which includes tribal and rural pockets also. The construction of the Sardar Sarovar Dam on the river Narmada would have benefited three states, that is Maharashtra, Gujarat and Madhya Pradesh. This most promising multi-crore project would have generated huge revenue for the government. The supporters claimed that it would have been a source of power, electricity, and drinking water to the neighboring settlements, villages, and towns. The need to mobilize and protest against such a venture was perceived when the building of a dam implied taking away the livelihood of local inhabitants and displacing them. In 1985, the Narmada Bachao Andolan emerged as one of the powerful resistance movement under the leadership of Medha Patkar. It became an international movement and thousands of activists from India and abroad joined hands against the construction of this dam. In October 1994, Medha Patkar went on an indefinite dharna to pressurize the three state governments. The movement suggested the use of alternative methods for generation of electricity and adequate rehabilitation of the displaced. The Narmada Bachao Andolan has brought issues of sustainable development to the forefront. It has questioned the validity of policy decisions about development and the utility of the same. The environmental movement continues to gather new dimensions as a modernizing society revises its demands and requirements to ensure the well-being of all people. In this chapter, we learned about the difference between social change and social movement. Social movements lead to social changes. The focus has been on women's movement, farmers' movements, and environmental movements. All these movements continue to be relevant even in the present times. Here we come to the end of our lecture. We will start with a new chapter in the next lecture. Thank you.